Think back to being a child, to a single summer holiday. It felt enormous. Whole afternoons stretched out like small lifetimes. September sat impossibly far away, and being told to wait a week felt like being told to wait a year. Now look at this year. Already half gone, maybe more, and some quiet part of you is wondering where it actually went. Somewhere between those two versions of you, something changed. Time seems to speed up year after year, and almost every adult on Earth reports the same strange acceleration. Here is the reassuring news. Time is not really moving faster. Your brain has quietly changed the way it measures it, and once you understand how, you can start to slow it back down. Start with the most famous explanation because it is worth knowing even though it turns out to be only half the answer. Over a century ago, a thinker named Paul Janet described what we now call the proportional theory. To a 5-year-old, 1 year is a full fifth of everything they have ever lived, a giant 20% slice of existence, so of course it feels vast. To a 50-year-old, that identical year is just 1/50th of a life, barely 2% of the whole. Same 12 months, a far smaller share of you, so it feels smaller and slips by faster. Follow that logic, and every year should feel a touch quicker than the last, on and on, forever. The idea is elegant, and it captures something real. When researchers actually put it to the test, though, it does not hold up on its own. A recent study even checked whether older people simply remember fewer events from their recent years, which is what that theory would predict, and the data flatly refused to cooperate. So psychologists went hunting for something deeper, and what they found is far more interesting, because it means the effect is not locked to your age. It is shaped by how you live. Here is the real key. Your brain does not clock time with a stopwatch ticking away in the background. It reconstructs time out of memories. When you look back and ask how long a stretch of life felt, your mind quietly counts how much you actually remember from it. A period crammed with vivid, distinct memories reads as long. A period that left almost no trace reads as though it barely happened. In memory, time is built from the moments you managed to keep. Now picture what childhood is actually made of. One first after another. The first day of school, the first time the bike stayed upright, the first taste of the sea, the first real friend. To a young brain, almost nothing is routine because almost nothing has happened before. And novelty is exactly what the brain treats as important. When something is genuinely new, it triggers a small release of dopamine that flags the moment as worth learning from. And that flag tells the brain to record it in rich, detailed, high definition. A single childhood summer lays down hundreds of these vivid markers. Look back on it, and the whole season is packed with distinct memories, so your brain reads it as having lasted a very, very long time. That is why the early years loom so huge in the rearview mirror. They were never longer on the clock. They were simply recorded in far more detail, because to a child, the entire world is arriving for the first time. There is a neat twist buried in this. A fresh, packed day can actually feel slow while you are living it, then stretch out long when you look back, precisely because it left so much behind to remember. A dull, repetitive day does the opposite. It drags a little in the moment, then shrinks to almost nothing in hindsight, because it left your memory nearly empty. Childhood, brimming with firsts, had that whole machinery working in its favor. Now jump forward into adult life and watch what happens to all that vivid recording. It quietly grinds to a halt. Adult days run on repetition. The same alarm, the same route, the same desk, the same familiar meals, the same shape of week playing on a loop. Your brain is ruthlessly efficient, and it hates spending effort twice. When an experience is nearly identical to 1,000 it has already filed, It does not bother writing a fresh, detailed memory. It just notes, same as before, and moves on. A whole month of smooth routine can slide past, leaving almost nothing behind. Later, when you reach back for memories to measure that month, your hand closes on empty air. So your brain shrugs and logs it as hardly any time at all. The year feels like it vanished because in memory, most of it genuinely did. This is why the blur deepens the more settled life becomes. The safer and more repetitive your days, the less your brain bothers to record, and the faster the years appear to drain away. Memory research shows the fingerprint of it. Ask people of any age to recall the events of their lives, and the memories bunch up heavily between roughly 15 and 30. Psychologists call it the Reminiscence Bump, and it maps almost perfectly onto the era stuffed with firsts. First love, first job, first home, first taste of real freedom. After that, for a lot of people, the firsts thin out, and so does the recording. Which brings us at last to the part you can actually do something about. If time is built from memories, then the way to stretch it is to hand your brain more worth remembering. Novelty is the lever. Every time you do something genuinely new, visit a place you have never seen, learn a skill that makes you clumsy again, take a different road home, your brain snaps awake and starts recording in detail once more. Psychologists even have a name for these fresh experiences. They are temporal landmarks, little flags planted along the timeline. And a stretch of life dotted with landmarks feels rich and long when you look back on it. A single week of travel, packed with the unfamiliar, can leave more lasting memory than the 3 quiet months that followed it. It is not only about grand adventures either. Simply paying real attention counts too. When you stay present and actually notice a meal, a conversation, an ordinary walk, instead of running the whole day on autopilot, your brain records more of it. Presence is a quiet form of novelty, and it thickens even a familiar day into something your memory bothers to keep. There is a strange paradox folded into all of this. The comfortable life, the one where every day runs smooth and easy and familiar, is exactly the life that appears to blur past and disappear. The messier life, full of new places, awkward first attempts, and things you have never done before, is the one that feels full and slow and long in the remembering. The very experiences we tend to avoid, precisely because they are unfamiliar and a little uncomfortable, are the ones that stretch our sense of time. So the feeling that the years are accelerating is real, but it is not a countdown you are helpless against. Think of it more as a mirror. It is quietly reporting how much of your life your brain has recently judged worth keeping. If this past year vanished, it does not mean your time is running out. It means your days had started to look too much like one another. The fix was never to somehow slow the clock down. It is to live in a way that keeps handing your brain something new to remember. That is why you do what you do. This is Mindling,